Oh, right. What's going on, guys? Commander here, and welcome to a sort of little different video. Basically, what this video is going to be is a behind the scenes of the Traitor, a Star Wars story. Now, in the midst of actually making the actual video, I was considering doing it behind the scenes and recording it while I was making it, but I tried doing it a bit, but then I quickly learnt that that would extend the making of it, because I would then be worrying about whether everything was right, and as well as having my recording software recording constantly while I work. And also, if something goes wrong, I may forget to stop the recording software, and then the files will just drag on for ages and ages and ages. So I then decided to not do that, and when the Traitor is finished and is out, which it is, the link is in the description, I then decided that I would do this video, which is a separate video altogether, where I go through all the different things that had every single impact into the Traitor, a Star Wars story, episode 1, and show you how I managed to create it and morph it all together. So what we're going to start with first is all of the files that actually were needed to bring the actual story together. Alright guys, so this folder I'm in is called Star Wars Project Clips and Audio, and I don't know what these Adobe business is in here, don't know, but these are all of the things. I mean, these are sort of like miscellaneous stuff that I couldn't actually put anywhere, as I couldn't find it, and find a way anywhere to put it, but these are all of the files, and every single file that I was going to use. I didn't use all of them, but from the start of the project to the finishing of the project, I put everything that I needed in here. I didn't delete anything. Everything that's needed is here. Now, I'll go through a few bits and bobs here, there, and everywhere. So here I've got. So let's start from the top. So we've got Clone Trooper animation. These don't have any sound because I put the sound in. I redubbed over the sound in the editing software. Place it is. I don't know why it's doing that, but it may buffer a bit. But as you can see, we've got the animation of the Clone Trooper. This is actually one of the animations, but as you can see, I've got the constant moving of the Clone Trooper, and I basically just cut it bit by bit. And I'm not sure. I know with Darth Vader there is a bit, but there's a few repeated movements, and that's because there's a few bits where I didn't animate it enough, and it would actually been easier to sort of take half of the original, half of one of the previous movements and put it into a bit of the movement you hadn't seen before. So you sort of, if you look carefully, you may be able to see it, but it's not obvious that it's there, because it's mixed in with some movements you may not have seen before, or you wouldn't have seen before. So that's the Clone Trooper. Now, there is two sides of the Clone Trooper. There's that one, and there's because the actual original bowing down, so the as you wish my lord, you summon me my lord at the start, the actual bowing down, that's an incident where it's a reused movement. So when the Clone Trooper comes in, he bows down and says, "You summoned me, my lord," and that is a reused movement, but from a different shot. Now, I'm not sure if I've got the original shot here. If I can find it, it may be in here. Clone Trooper animation, is this it? This might be it. Play as it is. Yeah, this is it. See, again, I'm not even sure if this is it, because if this is actually the original one, because I swear it was a bit more. It was a bit moved a bit more, but the bowing movement was exactly the same, but it was from a different angle. But there are instances where there's repeated movements, but from the same angle. If you look carefully at the first bit where the clone trooper and Darth Vader are talking on the Star Destroyer, you'll be able to see it. If you looked carefully. Again, I didn't make it too blatantly obvious. So if we go back, what else have we got? We've got Darth Vader animation. Now is this the first? Now is this the original one? No, this is the one that I actually used. I'll see if I can find the original one. But basically, when I was making the trailer, I originally didn't have any animation when I made the first concepts of this, the start of it. Because in my head, I was thinking, should I have, what exactly I want to do. So I had my voice acting, and the voice acting is all done and what have you. But I knew that if I wanted to get a concept, I couldn't put animations in because it would take too long to make that concept, and if it didn't work, it would be a pain to redo. So what I did was I got the audio and put it together, and then I put the audio together, but the concept was actually pictures of Darth Vader and the clone trooper, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But if you look in the trailer, the reason the animation is different was because that was the first time me using Source Filmmaker, which I'll go to in a minute, to animate the clone trooper and Darth Vader. But also that was the only time that I actually needed to do animations, because the holograms of the clone trooper and Darth Vader didn't actually come in until the late advances of the actual building, and I was thinking, what else should I put? Oh wait, I could put some holograms in. So the thing that I was thinking of when I was making it, I didn't actually need to put any more animation in apart from Darth Vader and the clone trooper in at the start. But the trailer was the first instance when I actually tried to use Source Filmmaker to animate Darth Vader. And it was a bit weird because Darth Vader doesn't move his head a lot. If you watch him talk, he doesn't move his head a lot. It's literally just an up and down motion. I watched numerous things. I watched Star Wars Rebels, I watched The Force Unleashed, I went through all the Darth Vader scenes in the original trilogy, and because he hasn't got any facial emotions, it's literally a nodding. That's why if I go back to this animation, all you can see is it's literally just nodding with the odd side movements to look around. It's literally all Darth Vader does is just nod. That's basically all that was. So Death Star in space, again, this was sort of something I put in just as things started to before I decided to put. I basically replaced this with something else. Basically, at the end, when the clone trooper said, Darth Vader said this mission was next to suicide, but I feel our next mission would be suicide. I was trying my best to find something that would mean that, that would lead to the thought that the next mission would be suicide, and I put the Death Star in because the Death Star was suicidal. But I then thought this was the Death Star during Return of the Jedi. But the start of the Traitor, so episode 1, was set during the Battle of Hoth and Empire Strikes Back. So I was thinking to myself, I don't think that the Death Star would have got to this stage of construction and not had any more construction within the time period between the start of Empire and Return of the Jedi. So I scrapped that and just left it with the space battles. So that sort of got scrapped. This is the hologram. I can't remember which hologram this was. This was the Darth Vader one. That one didn't work. I know that one didn't work because I mucked up because I in Source Filmmaker, when you export, you can either choose frames or seconds. And I put 17 frames. I put 17 frames because at the bottom, I got it up to what looks like the number 17, but it wasn't. It was 17 seconds or 17 frames. So that was 17 frames in that. This one, I believe this was the original one for Darth Vader. Yeah, this was the original one. This was the one that I used for Darth Vader. And this one was 30. This one, I think this was 30 seconds long. But as you can see, like, I was trying really hard to figure out a motion for Darth Vader because he doesn't move a lot. And again, you see him stopped there. But it was in front of a green screen. So I found a green screen map in Source Filmmaker on the Steam Workshop that I could use just to get rid of the background. And then I put it into Adobe After Effects to make a hologram effect. So that was pretty good. But I'll show you in Source Filmmaker. It was really one of the main things that was really hard, which is why I didn't actually show them any more of Darth Vader, was because positioning his arms and hands without making it look disformed was very, very tricky. And if you see the Darth Vader on the Death Star, his right arm near where his elbow is actually quite disformed. And that's because what happened was I was trying to maneuver it because I wanted him to have his hands on his belt. Now, again, his hands were not actually on his belt. They were just over his belt because, again, you wouldn't have seen his hands. I apologise for the truck that's just gone past, if you could hear it. His hands were just covering his belt because, again, you wouldn't have been able to see his hands. But his right arm was twisted and looked very disformed. And I couldn't actually change that at all. There's nothing I could do that could have changed that. But again, from what I could see, unless you were paying attention to it closely, you wouldn't have noticed it. So I'll go into Darth Vader in the Source Filmmaker in a second. If I actually go into this again, and I pause it in actually where Darth Vader is, if you see here, it was very, very dark. Now the reason why this was very dark was because the room was actually originally very dark itself. Now how I got the Darth Vader, how I had to do it was I had to have an external light. But I was struggling quite a bit with the light intensity, and if I got it too close, the animation would be too bright. And as you can see here, I put it too far away, and it was too dark. Now, luckily with the original one, with the one that I ended up using, I managed to get it just right, that it managed to work perfectly fine. I believe this was a clone trooper. No, this was another Darth Vader one. Oh yeah, it's because I rendered it a couple times. I think there was something wrong with one of them.